We're here with Ana Opre, student at Leiden's University in International Studies, and the Delegations Director at Young European Leadership. Can you please elaborate, Anna, on your role as Delegations Director at Young European Leadership and how it contributes to youth engagement in political dynamics?
For sure. So it's really nice to meet you, and thank you for having me here. I've been a Delegations Director for the past year and a half, but I've been a Delegation Officer for the past 4 years at Young European Leadership. In my position as a Delegations Director, I've been leading delegations for the biggest youth conferences that we have nowadays, namely Y7, Y20 and COP, and a few others which are smaller, but these are our main focus. And it is definitely a really, really big opportunity for offer a place for the youth to engage more, to have a saying, and to have the space to voice their views, opinions, and needs within all of these events that we are not hosting, but we're able to send our own delegations to them to represent the European Union.
That's really great, Anna. I want to know, what was your professional journey in attaining this position?
So it all started back when I was still in high school. I knew for a very long time that I wanted to pursue my studies abroad. It took a bit to convince my parents to allow me to move. As any parent, it's a bit difficult to let your child go.
Understandable.
But eventually, when I was, I think, in the 11th grade, I by chance stumbled upon the Young European Leadership while looking for a university to study abroad, and while reading upon them and what their mission is and what they're doing, I felt that it matches really well what my aspirations are and what my aims in the future are. And it was by chance the last day of applications open to be part of the organization, and I immediately applied, and I underwent an application process, an interview process, and I was very, very lucky to be selected to be a delegation officer. And so I started my journey with this NGO, with this European NGO, that has allowed me to be a step closer to youth politics, to be more engaged in youth affairs, and I'm very, very thankful for all the work that I was able to do within this organization.
Sounds great. It seems to me that it was 70% work and inspiration and 30% chance. What would you say about that?
I think that many things in life, we need to have some luck and a chance, because that's the way things go. But I do believe that I would have eventually always have found a way to be engaged in youth affairs, whether it would be with this organization, but later on, or with a different organization, because I think that all young people should have in their mind that as long as they have the grit to pursue something and the true desire to be engaged in a specific thing, they'll always find a way, and no matter where chance or luck is by their side.
Speaking about hard work, what advice can you give to other young people aiming to engage more in youth politics?
There are many things that you need to take into consideration when you want to be more engaged, but I think a really, really important aspect that we are lucky to have nowadays is that there are many more chances. There are a lot of young organizations that have been established, especially in the European Union, so there are very, very many chances for each young person to be engaged. But what is needed is for that person to also have the ambition and true desire to work for that, and to be informed on all of the opportunities that there are. I cannot speak in the name of all the organizations that are already established within the European Union for the youth, but for example, I can speak in the name of our organization, Young European Leadership, which offers these opportunities to be part of delegations to any youth from the European Union, as long as you just apply and fill in and are informed on all the issues and have the desire to be part of an activity or a delegation. So they just need to be informed and have this desire and ambition to be part of all these organizations that are already well established.
That's a really important message to pass on to the youth, and I hope it speaks loudly to the youth. How did you prepare the policy proposals for which you're going to negotiate?
So our entire delegation has put a lot of emphasis on going to these negotiations that are going to be taking place next week in Rio, by putting a lot of emphasis on being representative of the needs of the youth. Because we could go there and just voice whatever concerns us, but it wouldn't be enough. And we first had a sessions of trainings with European commissioners for each of the tracks that we're going to be negotiating on, and we had some discussions in order to get a better understanding of the European view on matters and what exactly is the focus and what exactly the European youth, but not only needs in all of these tracks. But much more than this, we wanted to focus also on what the youth needs, because it's one thing what the politicians there at the European Commission discuss on and what exactly the youth would want. And so we created a series of surveys that we passed on to different youth organizations within the European Union for them to pass on and for them to be filled to see exactly what they would want us to discuss or what aspects they would want us to focus on. But also we try to engage with as many youth representatives, youth organizations, or even youth experts on the different domains in order to understand and see their view, and also see how we can apply and address better the needs of the youth here in the European Union and how we can transform all of these in a policy proposal that we're going to negotiate next week in Rio.
It sounds like you're really interested in making a change. How does your current position as the European Union delegate for Y20 enable you to represent the youth of the European Union, and what specific areas do you focus on?
I'm going to take this question a bit from the end towards the beginning. For example, I can only speak for my track because that's the one I'm going to be negotiating on. And what we try to do within my track is pass 3 policy proposals that are aiming to address some main concerns of the youth from the European Union. First off, what we were going to be discussing is the issue of unemployment that many young people are facing. Because what we see is that even young people who have gone through university, they've gone through 3 years of hard work and a lot of effort put into those 4 years, they end up not even finding a job, not even within their domain, not the job in general. And we're trying to see what measures can be taken in order to ensure more job security for the youth. And in that sense, what we proposed as the European Union representatives is to establish more partnerships between the private sector and universities in order to ensure a smoother transition process for the youth once they finish university into the job market, and to ensure that they are able to actually find a job, to find a place to work, and it is easier for them to find this through these partnerships that would allow the young people to have also internships at different companies, but also to have special places at the entry level so that they're specifically dedicated for the youth. That would be one of the first concerns that we are trying to address. A second one would be in terms of the artificial intelligence and how it's reshaping the job landscape and everything in terms of work nowadays, and that has raised a lot of concerns among the youth because it has taken some jobs, it has changed a lot of them, and what we're trying to do is kind of push towards more regulation in the sense, and in order to achieve that, what we want to do is establish this so-called testing hubs that would allow us to see what in terms of regulation is exactly needed, and then through a youth established council together with a council from experts, they would kind of draw together regulations specifically for artificial intelligence. And lastly, one last policy proposal that would be pushed from our side would be in terms of work-life balance, because we've seen that lately work has taken over every aspect of our private life, and it is very, very difficult for any of us to fully disconnect, if not impossible for us to fully disconnect from what it means to the workplace and working. And what we want to push for is more in terms of a task-oriented workload, which would allow for each individual to kind of manage their own time and manage the way they want to fulfill the tasks that are need to be fulfilled for the workspace, but also kind of allow them to have more free time and fully disconnect when they're needed, when they need to disconnect. So it kind of, these are going to be like the three main targets in order to address concerns of the youth from the European Union, but not only for the European Union, because I think that these are also concerns that many young people have across the world.
Absolutely.
And in that sense, that's how we want to, through this policy proposal, be as representative as possible of the youth from the European Union.
Speaking about balancing work life and private life, how would you say you can integrate these two categories?
I think that's still a very difficult task to do, even for me, who I'm actually pushing and doing negotiation for this balance between private life and work. But I think most important is for you to kind of, first off, organize yourself the best you can. And that's a thing that I'm good at. I can for sure say that I love making schedules and plans. And in all these schedules and plans, what I'm always attempting to do is have kind of the best of both worlds. So I'm never fully only dedicating my time to work during that week, or fully dedicating it only to partying or going out with friends or my private life. I'm always striving to have kind of time for both of these kind of two things that I love to do. But much more than this, I think this is really cliche, but it's only through these years that I've been able to work for this organization and also have my private life, that I understood how important it is to be in a domain that you truly love what you're doing. Because in this way, you have a much more healthier approach towards the way you balance your time, towards the way you approach work and the way you approach your private life. I'm still not very good at it, and I think there's still a lot of things that I need to adjust in order to have a better balance between the two. Because more than often I end up not sleeping at all during the night, so that I have kind of also the work but also the private life all the time. So there's still much more space to be improved. But for me, the best two things are to always kind of strive to do something that you're truly passionate about, because that allows you for the healthy approach to towards organizing your life. And for me, organizing lists and schedules work wonders.
This is so inspiring, and your work life and your private life seem so organically intertwined. Now let's speak about your academic pursuits at Leiden University. How do your academic pursuits complement your practical experiences in youth empowerment and political engagement?
Well, I was truly lucky enough to have a very, very interesting program here at Leiden University. And in that sense, it's a very multidisciplinary approach towards our studies, because it's a combination of politics, economics, culture, language, and history. So it's everything all together. And it's something that I've specifically attempted to search for my bachelor before I applied, because what I wanted is a very humanistic approach towards the world of politics. And that's exactly what I'm gaining through this international studies program. Because what I feel is in politics today is that politicians are very disconnected from the real needs and realities of the people that they are creating laws for, or that they are creating policies for. Because without a proper understanding of the specific cultures and specific realities of the people that you're pushing policies and laws for, those things are they have no truly true efficiency. And what I attempted to achieve through my studies is to kind of have a better understanding of the cultural side of things. And then later for my master's, have also combined it with a more academic and professional viewpoint. But I'm still getting this viewpoint also through my bachelor. But I wanted more emphasis on the cultural side of things. And I found this truly helpful towards all the things that I'm doing when it comes to negotiations or my mission as a delegate now this year for the European Union, but also as a Delegations Director at the organization. And why is that? Because, of course, all this academic side is truly important in order to have a critical viewpoint on things and on matters and to know what is good and what is bad. But the culture side of things, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is in order to create long-lasting negotiations, because a lot of negotiations go behind the scenes into the relationships that you create with the people that you talk with, and to the power of truly understanding who you're pushing these policies for. Because I need to not only know the expert viewpoint on what the labor market needs, or the expert viewpoint on unemployment and inflation and all of that. I am getting that at uni as well, and from all the experts that I'm talking to, but I wouldn't know specifically for what to push in the negotiations if I didn't have a proper understanding of the cultural side of things, of exactly what the work life looks in the Netherlands, what the work life looks in Romania, what it looks in Spain, because to give a proper example so that kind of it translates what I've been trying to say, because I've been saying a lot, but I wanted to translate this message more in a more concrete manner. I've been asked a lot of times why, for example, in terms of work-life balance, I haven't pushed more for the 4-day working week, because that's a really popular policy proposal that's been debated nowadays. And my answer would be simple. You cannot push for something so generic at such a global level, because it depends on the specific cultures of every population. While it is 4-day working week does wonders in the north and in many countries in the north, we can see the example of Greece, where they're now pushing for a 6-day working week, because the culture and the reality of people is different. And so our policy proposals need to have a more adaptable side of things, and we can only ensure that they have this adaptable side by understanding the cultural side of politics and of people. And I think this cultural side has been given to me through our studies at Leiden University, and I'm truly thankful for all this that I've learned.
How would you say your personal experience either intervened or helped you understand better the youth that you are addressing to?
While I love to study a lot, because I love what I study, and while I do spend a lot of time studying, what I love doing a lot is also going out. And my friends from abroad and from here always know that I'm always up for any plans anywhere, and I always try to kind of find the best way to meet as many people from no matter where they are. And I think this side of my social side has always helped me to kind of understand many things in the political domain as well, because as I emphasized earlier on the culture side of things, all of this experience to have friends from every corner of the world has also enabled me to have a better understanding of all the academic things that I'm experiencing in life. And I was lucky enough to have this multicultural experiences even from when I was in high school, because I used to go to this German summer camps. At first I was sent by my parents, and I didn't really want to, and then I didn't want to leave. And there I would be for like weeks with people from every country around the world. And when you're there with everyone, you learn a little bit about every culture. And each year I would go there and meet again new people from the same countries or from different countries, but it will always every year be an effort of understanding the culture and having a lot more contact. And this has enabled me a lot to be very, very adaptable in terms of social relations. And it's made it easier to make friends with people from no matter where they are, because now I know what songs, a lot of Spanish songs, a lot of Brazilian songs, a lot of Dutch songs, and then I just open, it's really easy for me to open a conversation with any person, no matter from where they are. And why this is very, very important, because I've learned during the first round of negotiations last month that, as I said before, a lot of negotiations go behind the scenes and not necessarily at the table. And having had this past experience with having to socialize with people from all over the world, I kind of got the skills required to make friends with all sorts of people and adapt my way of socializing specifically for each person, no matter from which country they are. And that also allows you to push for a lot of things in a more open manner and to discuss many things and to have a more successful negotiating experience. Yeah, I cannot stress enough how important the social life is, especially in this domain.
Great. And lastly, what innovations and future work trends are you advocating for in your role at Y20? And how do you negotiate these on behalf of European youth?
So I think I've talked a bit earlier about the three main policy proposals that we want to push forward. The one in terms of unemployment, the one in terms of artificial intelligence regulations, and lastly, the work-life balance. So this will be kind of like our main focus points during the negotiation next week. But this negotiating process has started well before this, the next week. That's going to be the one next week. What our standpoint is always to emphasize always the needs and what the needs and the wants of the youth of the European Union. It's quite tense to reach a consensus with so many delegations from all over the world, because you have very, very different viewpoints as we negotiate with people from the United States, from China, from Japan, from India, South Africa. So every viewpoint you have there. What was really interesting is that when it comes to youth, why I'm talking only in my track, it was quite easy to reach consensus on some very specific needs of the youth. Because interestingly enough, from no matter where you are, most of the youth faces a lot of these challenges that we face as well. A main aim at the end of the day, beyond these policy proposals that we want to push for, and a main aim that all of the delegates seem to be on the same page with, is creating more spaces for the youth to be engaged in politics. Because the work that we're doing right now in Rio next week and for the past weeks online or last month, it's not enough to actually have tangible results. And it should not stop at what we're discussing or at the communique level, which we're going to be passing on to the world leaders during their conference in November. And it should not stop here. And what we're emphasizing a lot is to create more spaces for the youth to be closer to the decision-making processes, to be closer to voicing their concerns, to voicing their opinions, and to have a place at a table. Yeah.
I'm glad you have such an empathetic point of view. And I'm very curious, how does typical negotiation look like?
Well, at the beginning, it's quite intense because everybody is tense and they're feeling that they need to stand their ground and fight as much for the country or union that they're representing. Eventually, as the hours pass, because these negotiations can end up taking even, last year it was even in one of the tracks, even more than 24 hours. We need to see these negotiations as not negotiating against each other, or not as thinking, what can I pass for my country or for my union and take off for your country. But rather we need to see each other. Yes, we're from different countries, from different parts of the world, but we're all here for the youth. We're all representing at the end the same thing and the same people and the same needs and requirements. And rather than to think that we're negotiating against each other, we should think how our different points of view can be built together, and to see this negotiation process as working together rather than working against each other. It can be quite tense because there are many delegates who are closer to a government organization or to government influence, and you can see that they're sent there to pass specifically some aspects. However, I do indeed feel, and this gives me a lot of hope, that they're all very open to work for the youth, and not specifically just for what they want to be passed, but rather we're all there to work for all the young people that we're representing and get the best that we can for them.
It sounds like you have a very friendly dynamic. And I'm curious, what was one conflict resolution strategy that you used during your negotiation sessions?
It's very difficult to kind of put it in words. What I would always try to do is what I would call kind of find your friends between everyone. And it's very important to find the similar viewpoints or similar policy proposals that someone wants to push forward in order for you to kind of engage specifically with there, because the more the merrier, and the more you are on the same page on some aspects, it is easier to pass and negotiate. Because as long as I would negotiate on a specific point, but I would be the only one raising that concern, it wouldn't be important enough for it to be actually put down on paper or be pushed forward. So it's very important to always be with your ears open, to listening very, very carefully to what each one of these delegates wants to push forward and find this common ground. It's always very, very important during negotiations. Many are thinking that negotiations are a lot about fighting people off or like trying to kick people off from the negotiation table, but it's quite the opposite. When it comes to negotiations, it's very important to find the common ground between people, because in this context, we cannot pass not even one thing without everyone's consensus. So if one person is not okay with one thing that's been discussed, it cannot be passed. So it's always very, very important to be as open as possible and to always negotiate based on this common ground that you need to find with those people there. And you need to go there with an open mind, most important, not be fixed on things and be set specifically on some things that you want to be passed no matter what, because that's not going to happen. And to always fight and strive for the building together and finding what you have in common with all of those people there and how we can all build and reach consensus.
That sounds like a very healthy and assertive approach on negotiation. How do you balance your academic studies with your extensive involvement in various political and youth-focused organizations?
I think what's the most important and what's helped me throughout all these years is to have this kind of grit and ambition towards what I want to achieve. It's always very important in life in general to have in mind what you want to fight for. As long as you have a goal set in mind, from there you can always have this ambition and desire to fight and desire to work for yourself and to work towards what you want. It's also very helpful if what you're doing is something that you actually love and you're passionate about. And for me, I was very, very lucky to find this passion in everything that I'm doing. It is indeed most of the times also very difficult to balance everything, but I do feel that there are a lot of things that overlap and are intertwined between my academic life at Leiden and also the work that I'm doing, and a lot of things, practical experience that I have with the organization, I can put it into this academic part in the essays that I'm writing, or the knowledge that is needed for a lot of the academic part, but also from the academic part put a lot in the practical side of things. So they can be combined and intertwined. It is indeed difficult a lot of the times, especially when I have a lot of sleepless nights, but it is knowing always that what I want to achieve and the goal that I have in mind that gets me to push forward, and also the love and the passion that I have to do all of these things.
It has been very inspiring to talk to you, Ana, and I'm sure Ana Opre is a name that we'll hear more and more often from now on. Thank you for all your inspiring and insightful responses, and I hope we'll see each other soon.
Thank you as well for having me. It was really, really nice meeting you and talking to you.
Really nice to meet you too, Ana.